Okay, if you ever need to work on your Templar to either do changes to the carburetor, if you want to rejet the carburetor, or if you have to do a trail side repair, like if you have a carburetor jet that gets clogged up on the trail, or if you want to check your valve clearances on this bike, you're going to have to remove the tank. So this video is in regards to the Templar X that I have, but I believe this also applies to the Templar M and the Templar Y models. I believe that both of those share the same petcock, three-position petcock design, with also the fuel tank that has outlets on the left side of the tank as well as on the other side, the right side of the tank. And with that design, there's a fuel line that runs underneath the frame from the right side of the tank that attaches to the petcock here. So as the bike comes from the factory, if you want to remove the tank, there's kind of a certain sequence you have to go through to minimize the amount of fuel that you end up spilling everywhere. So the first thing you want to do is you want to turn the petcock to the off position so that the arrow is lined up with the dot. All right, after you do that, what you want to do is you want to remove this line that leads from the petcock to the carburetor. You just want to loosen that clamp and then pull that hose off, and then have something ready to catch the residual fuel that will drip out, so you don't make a mess all over your floor. Now, after you do that, you have to remove the fuel line that leads to the right side of the tank. So what you're going to have to do is remove this line from the petcock. Now, when you remove this line, you're going to have fuel that's still in it coming from the tank. There's nothing from the factory will shut that fuel off, and it will continue to pour. So you have to have your special tool ready to plug that line, which is going to be a golf tee, or you can use a screw or something else, but highly recommend that you carry something like this with you in your tool pack in case you have to do a trail side repair. But you'll pull this line off the petcock and then immediately plug it. And the other issue is when you do that, you're going to have fuel that continues to pour from the left side of the tank. It goes through the petcock and it shoots out the petcock itself where you just detach the hose from. So to prevent that from continuing, you'll quickly flip this petcock so that the long end is down and that the arrow is pointed up, and that will shut the fuel off that is coming from the left side of the tank, so it no longer continues to come out. After you do that, you'll now have this disconnected, you'll have this disconnected. Now you can detach the petcock from this bracket using, I believe it's a 4mm Allen wrench, and on the back side there's a 8mm, well, you use an 8mm wrench for it, but it's a lock nut. So remove these two bolts, and then you can proceed to remove the tank. And you'll have to pull the fuel line that leads from the right side from underneath the tank and fish it out on the other side, so that's not in the way anymore. Okay, so what I've done to address the mess of the fuel continuing to leak out of the line is I've installed a aftermarket fuel shutoff valve into this line, and I've placed that over here so that it's accessible to reach, but not really going to get caught up on anything either hanging from here, or so that won't be too close to the exhaust on the other side and potentially melt that fuel shutoff valve. So the procedure I do for removing the tank is similar, but the first thing I do is I shut this fuel valve off. So I turn the tab until it is perpendicular to the fuel lines that run through it, and that shuts the fuel off from the right side of the tank. Then what I do is just like normally, I'm going to remove the fuel line that leads to the carburetor and have my cup ready to catch that residual fuel. The petcock is in the off position. You can see there some fuel dripped out. All right, and then just like I would do normally, I'm going to turn this petcock until the tab is facing downward. Okay, now since I installed the fuel shutoff valve, I don't have fuel continuing to leak out. If you didn't have that fuel shutoff valve, you're going to have fuel that continues to leak out of here. All right, and now that I've done that, I can remove this line from the petcock. Like so. And now I'll continue to remove the tank by just removing these two bolts like I normally would, and then pulling this line out from the other side. It's a little tighter to pull that line out from the other side because of that fuel shutoff valve getting, but there's enough room to get that line out with the valve installed there. So that's it. So hopefully that saves you from some grief and some fuel wasted on the floor of your garage.